we are now talking to athletic NBA analyst Travonne Edwards. I love that name, Travonne Edwards. What's going on, Travonne?
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man.
How do I sound? Sound good?
You sound great, man. And I just, it flows off the lips. Travonne. Yeah.
How y'all doing, man? I love this.
We're good, man. We're Long Island, with the different weathers. It's so weird. We're in the wintertime. It's December. It's around Christmas. It's supposed to be like 30 degrees, cold, snowy. No. Today it was 58 degrees. It was wet outside, but it's beautiful. It feels like spring. I don't understand what the weather is over here. I don't, but this is why COVID and the flu is here to stay. So there you go, Travonne.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to New York weather. It's kind of crazy.
Are you here in New York right now?
Yeah, I'm in Brooklyn.
Oh,
yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Are you from New York or are you from somewhere else?
No, I'm from Compton. I'm from the West Coast.
Oh,
wow.
I could tell that you're not from around here. You know what I mean? You're smooth.
I'll take it. Man. That's very kind of you.
I love Brooklyn. So I went to school over there. I used to roam the streets over there, Coney Island Avenue. So I know Brooklyn. So Brooklyn is in the house. So
yeah, shouts to Brooklyn.
So tell me a little bit about how you became an NBA analyst. What made you decide to do this after school? What really brought Travonne Edwards to the broadcasting world?
So I really, honestly, my path was unique. It wasn't like any other path. I had no plans of, getting into this side of the business. I played college basketball. And then after I was done, I became a school teacher. So I was a school teacher for 6 years. A buddy of mine, Amina El Hassan, was at ES. Well, he was at, he was the Sun. He was working with the Suns, and then he went to ESPN. And they had a podcast called True Hoop. And they had me come on, but this was during the time Derrick Rose went AWOL, the first stint. And I was around the team at that time because I was coming out to New York often, visiting Brandon Jennings when he was on the team. So I was around during that time. And Amin invited me on. I didn't know it was ESPN's podcast at the particular time to talk about this Derrick Rose situation. And I was able to come on, and a couple of people tweeted me and was like, yo, you should start doing pods, coming on a little bit more. And I was like, I'm not doing no podcast. Like, I'm a teacher. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just happen to, know friends that's in the league or whatever. And they invited me to come back on. I had brought Chris Childs on, and then also Steven Jackson. So after that, they offered me to, just come on and just do stuff. So I enjoyed it. And I didn't think it would take off anything because I still remained a teacher for like at least 3 more years. Before it took off. But after a couple of my friends left ESPN and we were all able to work together, we launched Count the Dings, a podcast network. And, we just kind of built it from the ground up with our community. And then after that, we partnered up with, with Athletic. And that's how I got hired. So I've been with Athletic almost 3 years now. And, it's been great being able to, discuss the NBA and, just create great content.
Well, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. So why don't we get into your NBA content, okay?
Okay.
Because
yeah, for sure.
We're here in New York, and we expected good basketball this year. We see good basketball on one side of the river, and we see terrible. And I say terrible because as a Knicks fan, Julius Randle got a $116 million contract in the offseason. He says he's a number 1 player, and he took that contract because he wanted the Knicks to bring in another superstar in the future and turn this team into a competitive, championship competitive team every single year moving forward. But this year, Mr. Bricklayer has been Mr. Offset, Mr. Airball, whatever you want to call Julius Randle. So why don't we get into the Knicks right now and the woes of this team with the depth, bringing Kemba Walker, Fournier. We thought that this team was going to be much better than they were as a 4th seed last year going into the playoffs and bombing against the Atlanta Hawks. After what they did, they brought in certain players, offensive players, even drafted defensive players like McBride and Grimes is a good shooter. What are your thoughts to this New York Knicks team so far on what you see? Because it looks like Tom Thibodeau is looking like he's going to have a heart attack before season's end.
It's been a disappointment. You know what I mean? Obviously, with the expectations of how well they did last season, and I definitely picked them to be, to go to the playoffs again early on, and it just went backwards. You know what I mean? Obviously, I was never crazy about the signing of Kemba Walker. Not saying that it wasn't a great fit, but just how Thibodeau coaches with certain different point guards. You know what I mean? But like again, those things like the unfortunate situation with Kemba is he's healthy and he can contribute with another team, but he just Tibbs decided to make the decision to put out the players that he felt could deliver, and they haven't. They are 1-8 now since the benching, and I mean it's if and there's no trade value for Kemba at the moment, so it's unfortunate. He's being a pro's pro, just still showing up and doing what he has to do, but the one thing I've learned about living in New York City and how passionate New York Knicks fans are, and like it's no place like it. For one, you guys ride with you bleed orange and blue, but the expectations sometimes, right? You get players like Julius Randle. I remember seeing people saying Julius Randle was the best thing. He was more impactful than Carmelo Anthony just because they were riding that high. You know what I mean? And it was like, slow down, because this is a guy. It worked last year because they played as a team. It wasn't because Julius was the number one guy. They played as a team, and now they got complacent after like going. And that's why the results were against the Hawks, because they went away from everything they did, everything they did, and it carried over into the next season. Paying Julius, nothing wrong with paying Julius, but at the end of the day, you look at it in a situation of making him your number one guy. He's not number one guy. He's like 2 or 3. He's a good complimentary player. But at the end of the day, he's a black hole. He doesn't get anybody else involved. The bench sometimes has to step up and, get them going. And it's interesting because it's kind of like similar to what Portland was dealing with Chauncey Billups, like trying to find a bench to motivate the starters. You know what I mean? But Thibodeau wants to win now. Unfortunately, they're not moving in that direction. And they should look in another direction to improve in this roster. I don't think making a crazy swing and, unloading a bunch of guys, because I hear Damian Lillard's name attached to the Knicks all the time, or Knicks fans saying they want it. But I always tell them, think Melo 2.0, right? I had Raymond Felton, Wilson Chandler, like guys that could really contribute. And then they went all in on this one trade that it didn't deliver a championship. It got, 2 playoff appearances, maybe? So you look in this situation of like everybody wants to play for the Knicks, but you gotta have tough skin to play for the Knicks. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like again, they probably even won before all of us were born, right? But at the end of the day, it's just tradition. It's just culture. It's you know what I mean? The fans gonna show up for you, win, lose, draw, and things of that nature. And when you really think about it, you can't just come here. So like Dame can't have an off night because your expectations are so high for him. You know what I mean? Because at that caliber of the player, and it's like, if you can't take Portland media, you definitely not gonna take New York media. You know what I mean? Especially when you going 3 for 17, or you're not shooting how you want to shoot. So be careful what you ask for. But I just think that I think now they should kind of build around RJ, Obi, build a new, start getting these young guys confidence and kind of go away from it, because Randall's not making those dudes better. It's taken away from him, the progression of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hurting the Knicks more than it's helping the Knicks. And I like Julius Randle. I think he's a baller. I think he can play. But his style does not work.
So what do you think is the solution with Kemba Walker in that case? Because you said it's going to be very hard to trade him with the way he's playing right now. Do you think do they have to bench him still more because they're 1-8? Do they have to try experimenting with him in a different role? Do they go back to starting him? Do they still try to trade him anyway and just move on right away? What do you think is the solution with him? And if so, what do you think maybe the other value that they get for him? Do they try maybe a veteran for veteran swap and just try a culture change? What do you think is the best option for that?
It's unfortunate because like he's a good character guy, quality guy to be in the locker room, and he just fell out with Tibbs. Tibbs he's not a Tibbs guy, unfortunately, and that's fine. But it also sucks because there's no market for him. So if they care about Kemba Walker and they want to do him a good deed, release him. Waive him, because again, unless he's a throw-in, if he's throwing and they he goes somewhere with, but I'm sure the other team probably would waive him too, and he ends up where he wants to go, where someone will actually appreciate him. I mean, I could see him going across the water to Brooklyn and being way more effective than all this other going, because you can have a rental for Kyrie Irving, or you can have this, that, and the third. It's a low ask too to be with the Nets right now. They're about to sign James Ennis. They're just bringing guys on just to fill up to play next to Kevin Durant, but just these guys don't hurt the team. You know what I mean? And like everybody doesn't have that luxury.
We are talking to athletic NBA analyst Travonne Edwards. Travonne, you look at over the Hudson River, you have the Brooklyn Nets, and the Brooklyn Nets right now are the best team in the East without Kyrie Irving. James Harden has COVID right now, but he'll be back soon. LaMarcus Aldridge comes back. He looks better than he was before he retired from the heart condition that he had, or what we heard that he had. And then obviously the other pieces that they added in the offseason and made this team so much better, for a place for Kevin Durant to really bring his skills and play at the top of his game. This year, Kevin Durant, to me, is the MVP, averaging almost 29 points, almost 8 rebounds, and he's having more assists than he ever has anywhere he's ever been, from OKC to Golden State and now with the Brooklyn Nets. When you look at this team, and you just mentioned they're bringing in Ennis, there could be other pieces to be added before the trade deadline or after the trade deadline. Do you think if Kyrie Irving comes back, is this the team to beat this year the way Kevin Durant is playing, not only in the East, but throughout the league?
If they get Kyrie Irving back, yes, they'll be the team to beat. But right now, I still have the Bucks long term. I think that, the Nets could finish as a 1 seed in the East, but none of the regular season never matters. It only matters to teams that never been there. You know what I mean? Lovable losers. So this team is playing for the ultimate goal. They got to, they were literally 1 footstep of making it to the finals, and that's the main goal. So, but I do feel that Milwaukee still has a lot more pieces that could put them over the top when they're matched up. So, yeah, I mean, if they can land Kyrie Irving, that definitely extends their chances.